The Astoria-Megler Bridge has been crossing the Columbia River since 1966. It stretches over 4 miles, carries thousands of vehicles daily, and holds the title of the longest continuous steel truss bridge in North America. It is nearly 60 years old, and the environment around it has never given it a day off. Still standing. Most people crossing the Astoria-Megler Bridge are thinking about the view, the way the steel frame rises against the Pacific sky, the way the Columbia River spreads out wide and gray beneath it. It is genuinely hard not to stare. What most people are not thinking about is the fact that the bridge carrying them across that water was designed for a world that no longer exists. It opened in 1966, built to solve a real and frustrating problem. Before it existed, crossing the Columbia River along the Pacific coast meant waiting for a ferry. Weather, tides, and long lines dictated when travelers could cross. And as coastal communities grew through the 1940s and 1950s, that system simply could not keep up. U.S. Route 101, established in 1926 as one of the country's main coastal highways, needed a permanent crossing. The bridge delivered exactly that. When it opened, the response was immediate. Ferry dependence disappeared overnight. Travel times dropped, freight moved faster, tourism picked up along the coast. For a structure built at the edge of the Pacific Northwest, the impact on the region was hard to overstate. This brings us to the crucial point. The problem the bridge was built to solve in 1966 is fundamentally different from the challenges it faces today. Built for then. When engineers designed the Astoria-Megler Bridge, they were working with the best tools and knowledge available at the time. The design combined extensive steel truss spans with a vertical lift section, allowing large vessels to pass through the river channel below. For 1966, it was a remarkable piece of engineering, ambitious, precise, and built to the standards of its era. The problem is that those standards reflected a very different set of assumptions. Traffic volumes were lower. The understanding of seismic risk along the Pacific coast was far less developed than it is today. The Cascadia subduction zone, which runs offshore and is capable of producing a significant earthquake, was not the well-documented concern it has since become. The bridge was not designed with that level of geological threat in mind. It was also built for lighter, less frequent use. The coastal communities it connected were smaller. Freight demand was more modest. Tourism along U.S. Route 101 was a fraction of what it would eventually become. The engineers who drew up its plans could not have anticipated what the next 6 decades would ask of it. None of that is a criticism. Every structure is a product of its time, but understanding what the bridge was built for makes it much easier to understand the quiet pressure it is carrying right now. A pressure that, in many ways, never truly stops. What never stops. The Astoria-Megler Bridge does not have the luxury of a forgiving environment. It sits near the Pacific Ocean, which means it lives inside a near-constant cycle of salt-laden air, heavy rainfall, strong coastal winds, and temperatures that shift enough to matter. For a steel structure, that combination is about as unfriendly as it gets. Salt air is one of the most aggressive drivers of corrosion in steel structures. It does not need a dramatic weather event to do damage. It just needs time. Day after day, the moisture and salt work their way into protective coatings, breaking them down gradually until the steel underneath is exposed. Once that happens, corrosion moves in and does not stop on its own. The effects show up across the entire structure. Steel components begin to fatigue. Expansion joints and drainage systems deteriorate, allowing water to collect in places where it accelerates damage faster than normal weathering would. Bridge bearings, which are the mechanical components that allow the structure to flex and move slightly under traffic and temperature changes, wear down under the pressure of decades of use. Repainting is not occasional maintenance on this bridge. It is continuous. Crews move across the structure in cycles, treating new deterioration as fast as the environment creates it. The work never finishes because the conditions never change. Yet the environment wearing the bridge down from the outside is only half the story. The demand being placed on it from above has grown significantly since the day it opened, revealing challenges more profound than just cracks. More than cracks. The Astoria-Megler Bridge now carries somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 vehicles per day, with those numbers climbing higher during tourist season when coastal traffic peaks along U.S. Route 101. That is a load the original designers never planned for. A structure built for lighter, less frequent use is now expected to perform reliably under far greater and more consistent pressure, day after day, year after year. Traffic does not just wear a bridge down the way the weather does. It creates repetitive stress on every component that supports it, the deck surface, the steel framework underneath, the bearings that absorb movement and load simultaneously. Over time, that kind of constant cycling takes a toll that compounds on top of everything the environment is already doing. So if you lived near this bridge, would you want engineers to keep repairing it, or would you feel better knowing a brand new one was being built? The answer to that question, it turns out, is more complicated than it sounds, and the Oregon Department of Transportation has been addressing it piece by piece. Piece by piece. The Oregon Department of Transportation has not been ignoring any of this. What they have been doing instead is something more methodical than a single large repair project. They have been running a continuous multi-phase rehabilitation strategy that addresses different parts of the bridge over time, all while keeping it fully open to traffic. That last part is worth pausing on. Every repair, every replacement, every maintenance cycle happens on a live bridge carrying thousands of vehicles. Crews work from suspended platforms beneath the deck. Containment systems are sealed around repainting operations to prevent any material from reaching the Columbia River below. Sections of the structure are carefully lifted to relieve pressure so that worn bearings can be swapped out without shutting the bridge down. Between 2019 and 2023, crews completed extensive repainting work, removing deteriorated coatings through abrasive blasting before applying multi-layer protective systems designed specifically for harsh marine environments. That work continues in cycles today. From 2025 to 2026, attention has shifted to the bridge bearings, with damaged components being replaced in controlled stages. Looking ahead, the deck surface will be milled and resurfaced, bridge rails will be upgraded to modern safety standards, and drainage systems will be improved to reduce water buildup. It is careful, unglamorous, essential work, and it never really stops. This continuous effort, however, naturally leads to questions about the financial implications, which we can examine in detail. The cost so far, the bill so far. Rehabilitation on this scale does not come cheap, but the numbers tell an interesting story when you line them up against the alternatives. The major preservation project completed in recent years came in at around $17.5 million. The current bearing replacement work running through 2025 and 2026 sits at under $1 million. Upcoming deck resurfacing and bridge rail upgrades are expected to cost somewhere in the range of $7 to $8 million. Improvements to drainage systems and expansion joints will add several million more on top of that, with much of this work scheduled to continue through the late 2020s. These projects are funded through a combination of state and federal sources, which allows the costs to be spread across multiple budget cycles rather than hitting all at once. That funding structure also gives planners the flexibility to sequence work based on what the bridge needs most urgently at any given time. Add it all up, and the total investment across these phases reaches roughly $25 to $30 million, a significant sum by any measure, but one that keeps a critical transportation link operational without the disruption of a full replacement. The bridge stays open, the coast stays connected, and the work just keeps moving forward one section at a time. This ongoing investment naturally brings us to the larger strategic question: replace or repair? The question of whether to replace the Astoria-Megler Bridge is not one that engineers and planners are ignoring. It comes up, and there are legitimate arguments for eventually building a new crossing. A modern bridge could be designed with current seismic standards in mind: wider lanes, improved safety features, and better integration with existing road networks on both the Oregon and Washington sides. But replacement is not currently the preferred path, and the reasoning is straightforward. A new bridge would likely cost somewhere between $2 and $3 billion. The planning and construction timeline would stretch across a decade or more. That is an enormous commitment of resources for a structure that, despite its age and its environment, remains structurally functional today. Rehabilitation, by comparison, keeps the bridge operational at a fraction of that cost. It addresses real problems as they develop, uses modern materials and techniques, and buys time for long-term planning without forcing an immediate and enormously expensive decision. That does not mean replacement will never come. As the bridge continues to age, the calculus will eventually shift. The rehabilitation strategy is not a permanent answer. It is a responsible one for right now, grounded in engineering reality rather than either panic or denial. For now, the bridge keeps standing, and the work keeps going. The Astoria-Megler Bridge is not a structure in crisis. It is a structure being carefully managed through one of the more honest conversations infrastructure ever forces, about what it truly costs to hold something important together when replacement is not yet the right answer. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love this next one.